So I'm going to the home page. I will go to manage or job page structure, and after that I will go into create workflow. So I have already have some positions. So according to the positions, I will create the workflow. When you people will try to create a workflow, try to, when you have your own data, try to create a workflow by creating the approvers, like some as a dynamic role, some as a dynamic group, so that you can explore how the workflow will be triggering. So I'm going into the workflow. Okay, so let's go and create a scenario. So I'm creating a scenario for MDF object. Okay, so let's go and create a WF underscore MDF object. Let's take something as a I'm taking something as a business unit B. Change. Okay, this is the workflow name which I'm specifying. The ID it is there, and I'm going. Okay, so I'm not taking anything as a remaining days. I'm scrolling down, and the approval I will take as position. Let me go into the Excel, and in the Excel I have already taken some positions. So here you can see I have taken the list of approval, which I saved it here, because each and every time I need to go, there is no need for me to go into the employee profile. So this is the position first approval. I will copy this, and I will approve a role. I will try to paste it here. So here you can see that approval is coming. Okay, and the second level also I will try to take the position. When you people will try to explore, you take one as a dynamic role, one as a dynamic group, one as a position. So how the workflow is triggering, how the workflow will be moving from one level to another level, that you can able to explore it. So second level, who is the second? So this is the position ID. So again into the approval role. Okay, and the third, again I am going with the position. So third, this is the position ID, and here I will paste it. Okay, and then these are the three approvers which I have taken. Okay, now I'm not taking anything as a contributor. CC role I will put it my email ID, so that to check the final confirmation. So here, let me check once my email ID is correct or not. Just give me a moment. Let me check once. SAP SF Trainer 01. Okay, and I will click on save. So I have a workflow created for the MDF object. What is the object? That is business unit, and the business unit we are using for create and change. That is the workflow which I created. These are the level of approvers, and the CC role I have mentioned my email ID. Okay. Now to trigger this workflow creation the workflow is one thing, and triggering the workflow can only possible when you are assigning that workflow. Okay. So to assign that workflow, I will duplicate this screen. Okay, and after duplicating the screen I will go to where is the we are assigning we are checking for the MDF object. What is the MDF object? Business unit, where all these MDF objects are configured in configure object definition, correct? So I will go to configure object definition, and when I go to configure object definition I will select object definition, and here I will go to this one, what you call business unit. Okay, after going into the business unit there is a field by name workflow routing. Can you see here? Workflow routing. Okay, so what I will do, I will go into take action, make correction, and I will scroll down, go to the workflow routing, and what is the workflow which I created? That this is the ID, right? This I will copy it. I will go back here and I will try to paste it here. So you can see here is populating, and then I will save it. Okay, so here with the when we are going with MDF, we have a direct option to assign the workflow in the workflow routing, which we have already done here. Okay, now if you want to do the testing for creating the record or changing anything in the work for the MDF object where we are going, manage data, right? So I will go to manage data. Okay, and if I want to go and create a business unit. Okay, so let me take this as 1900. This is, I'm taking this. Okay, and here I will mention the ID. So let's take something. Mm, okay, East zone. Okay, and status active. legal entity. Let me take the legal entity. Okay, now I am just saving it. So if the workflow is there, and when as an end user, when I'm just trying to save this, if the workflow is there, it should not save, it should trigger a workflow and it will give a pop-up. Okay, so let me go and click on this. So can you see here, it is not allowing us to save, but it is saying that a workflow is assigned, is connected to this particular object, and these are the level of approvers. Can you see here, Jordan, Ahmed and Alex, and
Yes.
the personal email ID which I mentioned, that is also showing. In the real time also it will look like this. Okay, but who are the approvers, that is the decision taken by the customer. Okay, so once this has been there, now as an end user I can only see, or HR admin I can see the workflow. But if I as an admin I want to also know what is the workflow which is been configured. So just to keep the cursor here, you can see the name of the workflow will be populating here. Can you see the name
Yes.
of the workflow? Okay, that is the thing. Now I am just initiating the workflow so that it should send to the first level of approval. Okay, so okay, so now what I will do, I will just click on confirm. So once it is, once I click on confirm, a workflow notification will be sent to this user. So depends upon that. So now it is still pending. It will be pending until the workflow, entire workflow will be completed. Okay. So what I will do, I will duplicate the screen. After duplicating the screen, I will proxy to that user, because I need to proxy that to that user. Okay. So I will proxy to what is his name? Jordan, right? Jordan. Okay. This is the user. Okay. So when I proxy to the user, a notification, he should receive a notification in the home page. Let's see if the notification he has received in the home page or not. So yeah, you can see here, this is a notification. Okay, request for the approval. Okay, so he can able to review and he can approve it. How he can approve it? He can click on approve or click approve with comments. So once you click on approve, this will be this request will be went from here, and it will go to the second approver, whoever is the second approver. Okay, so who is the second approver in the list? Second approver is Ahmed, I think. Okay, so let me go to Ahmed. So I am proxying to the Ahmed right now. First I proxy to Jordan. It got approved. Now it has the workflow request has been moved to the second level, that is to Jordan. So let me go and scroll down. So you can see for Jordan, I'm proxying to the Jordan, and as a Jordan, sorry, proxy to Ahmed, and as a Ahmed, I can see this request is been there. Now if I want to click on review and approve, so I will click on review. So when I click on review, it will take me to the workflow details page. Okay, in the workflow detail page specifies what was the requirement, what the changes happened, who has initiated it, okay, who has approved it, all details will be showing here. Okay, If I want to, if as a second approval, if I want to see what all participants are there, I can also see the participant also. Okay. So in this I can see the first participant has approved it. Second is the participant which I proxy to you now, and as a second participant I can see who all are the participants and who has been approved. Okay, this is from the view and approve tab. I can able to redirect to the workflow request, workflow details, and from there I can able to go and see this. Okay, from the workflow details. Okay, now if I want, if as a second approver I can, this assign to me, in the real time it will not come, it will come to send back, reject or approve. So if I am putting some comment here and I am clicking on approve, so what will happen? It will also move from here. Now two levels of approval has been completed. Now coming into the third level, before going into third level, if as an initiator, if I want to know that what is the status of the workflow, how will I go and check? So for that, as an admin, there is also a configuration tool called manage workflow, manage workflow request. So after going into manage workflow request, in the manage workflow request, we can say requested by, requested for, requested type, all these details. So requested by, who has requested by? That is this one. Okay, this ID. So this ID I can mention because I want to search the workflow, my workflow. So how will I search? Who has initiated? I have initiated, right? So it is always easy to search with my name what all workflow which has been initiated from my end, from my account. Okay, so when you go here, you can see here one is request type, one is action, requested by, requested for, request status comes. So whichever request is been completed there, that take action option is totally freezed. Okay, so we will just scroll down and to see if any other action is open or not. So you can see couple of actions are open. Okay, so one action is open here where I think this was the request which we have initiated it, right? We are seeing it is pending, correct? So now in this take action we have this option here where we can add another approval also. Once the workflow is in the process also, we can try to add another approval. Okay, that is also possible. This is sometime also an interview question. When the workflow is already in use, can we delete a workflow? No, sorry, can we remove a approval? Can we change the route? Can we change the approval? Okay, this is also possible. Can we decline the workflow? That is also possible. Okay, by clicking from here until and unless the workflow is been pending, in the pending stage. Okay, so as an initiator I will be going into manage workflow request and I can able to go. So when I click on here, it will again take me to the workflow detail. In the previous screen how I went as an approval from view and approve section tab, right? That is for the approval to view. This is the initiator view from the manage workflow request. Okay, so as a initiator I can go and see the workflow which is been initiated by me, who all has approved it, and here also I can see the status here. Okay, so as an approver there is a way how the approver can see what all are the approvers who has approved it. As an initiator, this is the way I can able to go and see it. Okay, now what I will do, the last is pending with Alex, right? So I will go to Alex. Okay. So when I scroll down here, when I scroll down here as an Alex, I can see here the workflow as I have received the workflow where I can able to see review and approve. So again here I can able to, as a final approver, I can see. So here I have not mentioned any edit transaction. When you will try from your end, you will try to add edit with root change, edit without root change. You try to explore that part also. Okay. So as a final approver, I can see who all has approved it, and when I will go and click on OK and approve it, so then in the CC role a final notification will be sent. When I click on approve and let me become self, after becoming self, let me go to the manage data, and here I will let, now still it was there in the pending approved, so let me refresh it once. So after all approvers, you can see the workflow, the record has been finally created and saved. Okay. So this is something, a entire process which will be for the end user. Okay. But as a consultant, we are setting up the configuration for them. Okay. So as a consultant, we will be not executing any workflow. But in case if the workflow is not working, that is one scenario. In case if there is a new requirement from the customer, and for that new requirement we have to set up a new workflow, then we as a developer we need to go and create it. So we should know how we need to go and configure a workflow. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is one scenario which was in the case of an MDF object. Okay, where we can directly assign the workflow in the configure object definition. There is an option available. So if you are assigning it in business unit and if you are changing something in division or department, you cannot expect the workflow should trigger. Wherever the workflow is assigned, you have to perform the action in that object. Okay, that is one thing. Second scenario is if if we are creating a workflow and the workflow should trigger for the employee related fields. So for employee related fields, we don't have a concept, we don't have any feature where we can directly assign the workflow. Okay, so for workflow to assign in employee related field, uh, there is a middle level feature that is known as business rule. So we will write a business rule, we will call that particular workflow in the business rule, and after calling that workflow in the business rule, we will assign that business rule in the employee related fields. So for assigning the business rule in employee related field, we have already discussed initially, that is where the employee related fields are maintained in succession data model, right? Or in manage business configuration, correct? So if you remember, we have seen in manage business configuration, BCUI, that there are HRIS fields and below that we have trigger rule section, right? So I told you that when we start with again workflow business rules, we will again come back to that particular tool again. Okay. So now we have seen one scenario where we were trying to perform an action for MDF object, and we can directly assign the business rule, sorry, assign the workflow in the workflow routing option here. Okay. this was easily done. The purpose was that when the action is performed, the workflow should trigger. A notification should be sent to the approvers. But in employee related fields, we cannot directly assign the workflow. Workflow has to be triggered with the help of a business rule. Okay. So before going and seeing what is a business rule, let's go and complete the event and event reason also. Okay. So I'm pausing the topic for a workflow. Workflow, we know how to create a workflow that we have seen. Okay. Now the question is that after creating a workflow, how to assign that workflow to the employee related field, we should have a business rule. Okay. So before going into the business rule, let me cover up the topic of event and event reason, then we can go into the business rule also. Okay. So let me, so event reason, coming into event and event reason. So let me go here. Okay. Coming into the event and event reason. So to understand the event and event result, what is an event? Okay, in SAP HR we call as an action. So any action, it is a set of action or a transaction that takes place in the employee central. Okay, so when any action or transaction that takes place in the employee central, that is known as an event. A transaction occurs when an employee or a manager or an admin makes a change to the employment or personal information on an employee profile. Okay, example maybe transaction includes the transfer, job change, updating the home address, compensation, okay, change. All these are coming under the called as an event. Okay, reason for keeping this record of transaction. Okay, reason for keeping this record of transaction such as to keep the historical record. So we want to keep the historical record for the reporting, for create some report and for legal purpose, to show the change of an employee data over time, to trigger any approval process. Okay, to show the change of an employee time period. So if an employee is getting promoted, so he can also see from last 2 years what was the position, what was the grade he was holding, and now he's been elevated into which level. So time to time he can also see in his employee profile the changes which is going on, and every change will go with a approval process. Okay, so employee central provide system defined events. So whatever the events are there, okay, there are some list of events. Those list of events are the standard events, that is system defined events, that is already defined by SAP. The label of the event, so whatever is the list of the event, the label of the event can be changed, altered, but it is not possible to add a new event. We cannot create a new event, but the label can be altered. Okay, that is one thing. Okay, so event is being always controlled from SAP side. So there are already list of events which is already defined by SAP. We can see those events. Okay, so those are the standard events. We cannot go and create our own event, but we can modify by changing the label of the existing events. Okay, and we cannot, it is not possible to add a new event. Okay, so to summarize, event is overall control from the SAP side. As a consultant or as an admin, we cannot go and create a new event. Okay, then what SAP has done? SAP came across with another feature after the event, that is called as an event reason. So whenever an event, that is transaction or action is been occurring, there is a reason behind that action. So you are hiring a person, what is the reason behind it? Or you are terminating a person, what is the reason for the termination? Okay, it is a voluntary termination, or it is a normal termination, or it is a misconduct, termination with benefits. All these things we can able to go and analyze what is the reason behind it. So what SAP has done, they have created another feature that is called as an event reason. So event reason are defined by the customer or by the consultant, and they are used to define more specifically the reason why an event has taken place. So an event has taken place, a hiring is going on. What is the reason for the hiring? It is a contractual hiring, it is a permanent hiring, it is a new hiring. So that is the reason which we can able to define in the system. So to define the event in the system, we have a reason for it, that is a event reason. So when SAP has introduced this feature event reason, they have also kept this event reason under the foundation. So event reason is a foundation object. Okay. So when a manager or an admin changes an employee data, for example by increasing the salary or changing the department, the reason behind this change is normally that an event has taken place in the employee's professional life. Okay, so event could be a promotion or a transfer to the another department. Okay, so these events reason can be configured from the foundation object. So how we are going and creating the records for foundation object from manage object pay structure. So event reason, workflow, and the dynamic rule. As I told, these are the other foundation objects. Okay, all these other foundation objects from where we are creating from manage object pay structure. Okay, so when we go further, so event reason is a foundation object and is created and customized by the customer. Okay, that is one thing. And another thing is that event reason must be connected with a hardcore event in the system. Okay, so to uh, uh, create an event reason, where we are going into manage object pay structure. So when I want to go here into manage object pay structure, I can go and see the event reasons will be there. And if I want to go and take any new hire, suppose event reason, so here we can take, we can see the event reason name, description, status. So when I go and click on make correction, we can see here the event. You can see the list of the events. These events are the standard events. So whenever we are going and creating a event reason, it has to be mapped to the event, to a particular event. Okay, that only it is specifying here, that it is event reason must be connected to a hardcore event in the system. Okay, so while creating it, you can see event is a mandatory field. So we have to specify this event reason is connected with which event, that we need to take. Also, it also gives a importance that what is the employee status. So employee status is also connected with the event reason and event. Okay, that is also the observation we can able to go and see. So once this event reason is created, okay, then we can whatever action which you are performing. So whenever we are going and performing an action, when you go into an employee profile, when you are performing an action, each and every time you need to define what is an event and event reason. Okay, so let me go here and let me open a user here to show you. So I'm opening an employee profile. Okay, so now when I'm just going here into the action, change job and comp action info, here I'm selecting as a job info, selecting a date here. Okay, So now whenever you are making, suppose I am making a change in the position. When I am changing a position, how the system will know that I am changing a position? So I have to notify to the system that what is the event and what is the event reason. So what is the event and what is the event reason? When I am just notifying to the system, they will understand, and according to that the changes will be updated in the system. Okay, so when I'm changing the position here, there are two mandatory fields. One is an event and one is a event reason. One is a event and one is a event reason. Okay, so we need to specify here what is the event and event reason. Now the event and event reason is not showing here. Okay, so the reason is that before going into the third feature which SAP has introduced, before that what the standard behavior was that whenever an end user is changing the value in the record employee in the employee profile, they have to specify manually the event and event reason. That is something always a manual process they have to maintain. Okay, to avoid this process, what SAP has done, they have given an option in the provisioning. So when you are enabling that option in the provisioning, these two features will not be available. Okay, these new features will be removed. So let me show you in the Word document. So I'm opening a Word file, which is where we have the screenshot taken from the provisioning. Please let me know if the screenshot is visible or not. It's not opened yet. So maybe it will be a blurred image, so I will just expand it for a while. So here you can see enable business rule for event reason derivation. Okay, so this option will be there, so we need to enable this option. That is the third feature which we'll go and see, that is the event reason derivation. Okay, that is the third feature under the event and event reason, that is event reason derivation. So when you are introducing this feature here from the provisioning, what will happen, the options which are showing here, that event and event reason both are mandatory, that will be removed. But how the system will know what is the event and what is the event reason? Although we have created the event reason here, okay, we have created an event reason, but we need to, when this system will know this event, this is the action, when the action is performing this event, this is the event reason for that particular action. That can only possible when, according to that action, that event reason will trigger. When the event reason will trigger, when you have to notify to the system. So earlier you are entering manually into the system. Now we have removed that option. So what will happen? We have to write a business rule. That only it is saying that enable the business rule, enable the business rule for the event reason derivation. So we need to write a business rule, and we need to call that event reason in the business rule, and then assign that event reason to that particular employee related field. Then only we can see that whenever the action is performed, the rule will be getting triggered and the event reason is getting notified to the system. So here when you go and see in the employee profile, when I'm trying to change it in the employee profile, under job information, this is the field. I'm changing the value for this field, that is the position. When I'm changing the value, what is happening, an action is performed. How the system will know an action is being performed? Because an action is nothing but an event, and what is the reason behind that event? That is an event reason. So we need to do it manually, but when we have removed that option, how the system will know? So for that we have to write a condition. When we write a condition, that condition has to match with the action which is being performed. The condition and the action should match each other. Okay, and when the condition is getting satisfied as per the action which is performed, then the rule will trigger, and when the rule will trigger, the event reason will be getting triggered, and according to that it is getting notified to the system that this is the event and this is the event reason, and according to that it will be saved automatically. Okay, earlier when you click on the save button, it will not save because you have to maintain here event and event reason manually. Now when you are removed it, when you click on save, then also it will not save because they will, first of all the system will try to identify any business rule is there or not, and in the background they will try to validate it, what is the action which is performed, and according to that action what is the rule what is the condition which is been defined in the rule. According to that the uh, rule will trigger and the action will be performed, and a notification, that is event and event reason, will be sent to the system. Okay, and when it is been notified to the system, the whatever the action which is been performed, that will be saved automatically. Okay, got it? This is the background process which goes on. So for that what we are doing, we are going and creating a event reason. So we know what is the event. Event is something as a standard one. Okay, that is predefined. These are something we are not creating this, it is already been created by SAP. Okay, then after that when we are going and creating an event reason, we need to specify what is the event reason for that particular event. Okay, and when we are creating an event reason is automatically mapped with the event. Here you can see. Okay, now when event and event reason has to trigger, another one thing is that you have to, if you are enabling this option, then you are enabling the rule condition. So we can write a rule, and rather entering here in the employee profile, that is in the people profile manually, we can go and we can perform it automatically, notifying to the system with the help of a business rule. Okay, so that is about the event and event reason and event reason derivation. Let me go back into the system. So when you go here, you can see here there are certain, I have created a table. These are something as a standard event, that is data change, hire, leave of absence, pay rate, termination, and transfer. So you can see that if a data change is there, what is the reason behind that data change? That is a change of the business unit, correction, status change, anything can be there. Okay, then if you have a hire, what is the hire? It is a new hire, contractual hire, something which is related to the onboarding, that we go into the hire part. Okay, leave of absence means what? Leave of absence means education, long-term disability. Okay, all these things will be the reasons which is coming for the leave of absence. Okay, pay rate change, that is something which is related to the salary increase, adjustment, hike, bonus, transfer, and something which is related to the cost of living. Okay, similarly case with the termination. When you go into the termination, what is the type of termination we can look? The voluntary termination, misconduct. Okay, so we are specifying the event, these event reason, from where we are defining it here in the manage data, in the manage job pay structure. Okay, where we are specifying the event reason, and when you are creating an event reason, we are also specifying what is the event for that particular event reason. Okay, got it? So these are some examples how we can see what are the events and what are the event reason. Now in the interview, if they want to know how we can able to track what are the standard events, for that all the standard events we can able to go and see, where we can go and see in the pick list center. So when you go and see in the pick list center, okay, now if I'm just typing here event, You can see here the event will be there, and you click on the event, you can see all the list of the events will be there, which is already defined. Okay, we can change the label, we can copy the standard one, and we can uh, update the new with the new label. That all we can do with the standard functionality. Okay, so this you can see all the event values will be there. Okay, these are something which is a standard event. Okay, and how we can download, and from where we can download this event, we know where we can find from the pick list center. And how these events can be downloaded, you go to import and export. This also we have seen when we went into MDF object, right? Import and export data. Okay, so here you can mention that is pick list. So here you can select export. Generic object will be there. Select the generic object as a pick list. Okay, pick list values. When you select the generic object as a pick list value, okay, so here select the include dependencies as no. After selecting the include dependencies as no, we need to click on the export button here. When you click on the export button here, you can see the export request has been submitted. If you want to go and see where we can able to extract that report, go to monitor job. Okay, when you go to monitor job, you can see this is something which we have done right now. Okay, so now when you click on the download status here, you can see all the pick list values we can able to download here. Okay, you can click on the pick list values. Is the Excel visible? A new Excel has been opened. Okay, now you can see from the export, from import and export, I have downloaded all the pick list values here. So I'm just aligning it. It's still in the process. Okay, now you can see this is something, the pick list code which we are seeing, and this is the, so here I can put here as a filter. Okay, and here I can search for event, right? So let me go and search for event. You can see event. Okay, you can see all the events will be there. Okay, event, the external code. Okay, and whatever the values are there, that values will be showing here. So let me go and align it. So I'm just aligning it. Okay, so I have aligned it. When I go here, you can see here how it is there. So we have the operator, we have ID, we have the code, the values in English. Okay, other translations will be there. Okay, that we have already completed. If you remember in the configure object definition, when we are going and creating custom MDF, we have completed that topic, right? So that also we can see here. Okay, all other languages will be there. Okay, so in this way, for all the events we can able to go and track it finally. Okay, from the here. So for finding the events, we can do it from the picklist center, downloading from import and export. Okay, got it. This is also sometimes an interview question where we can find the standard events and how we can able to if we want to take the summary of all the events, from where we can able to go and see. Okay, so here we have completed the this one, that is event and event reason and event reason derivation also. Event reason derivation, why we are using? Because after creation of the event reason and mapping with the event, whenever an action is being performed, each and every time we need to enter event and event reason manually in the employee profile. Then only the system will be, then only the changes will be saved in the system. To avoid that, we have enabled that option from the provisioning, and after that these options will not be available, that is event and event reason. But how the system will get notified? We have to write a business rule. So once we write a business rule from the front end system, in the business rule we will be calling that particular event reason in the business rule, and according to that, whenever the action is performed, system will try to validate if any rule is there. If any rule is there, system will try to verify what is the condition in the rule and what is the action is performed. If the condition in the rule and the action is performed is matching, okay, then the rule will be set and it will be triggered, and event reason will be notified to the system, and the action and the changes will be saved automatically. Okay, so this is something which is being performed automatically with the help of a business rule concept. Okay, same thing applies for workflow also. So that is the reason I paused the workflow and I just try to complete the event reason also, event and event reason. Okay, so these two features are different. Always keep it as a different only. That is, workflow is different and event reason is different. Okay, so whenever we are writing a rule condition, we should not club both the features in a single rule. System will not accept it. Okay, that is by default the standard behavior of the SAP system. Okay, whenever we want to write a rule, for workflow we have to write a rule separately, and the event reason we have to write a rule separately. Okay, so earlier what was happening, whenever we are writing a condition, all these conditions earlier we were also maintaining XML, that is event reason derivation XML. Okay, so we have discussed in data model that 7 data models are there. Out of that, the 3 data models we are not in use. One of the data model was event reason derivation XML. Okay, now in the month of November, the not this release, previous to this release in 2022 November, this this XML has got deprecated. Now we are not using this XML. The reason SAP has planned to remove this XML. Deprecated means now there will not be any changes, maintenance for that particular application. It is the end of the life cycle for that particular feature. Okay, why the reason they are ending up the feature? The reason is that everything now can be maintained from the front end with the help of a business rule. Okay, before 2022 November, as customer was having two options. Either they can maintain all the conditions in the XML, or they can maintain the conditions in the business rule, any one of the area, either from the front end or from the back end system. Okay, but lot of customers, they used to maintain all the conditions in the front end. because in the future this will be automatically get deprecated, and that was happened in the previous release, that is 2022 November, that they have decided to go for the end of the maintenance for this particular feature, and there will not be any further update modification of this feature. Okay, all the event reason everything will be maintained and configured from the with the help of a via business rule from the front end, which lot of customers are doing already. Okay, same case with workflow also. When we discuss about workflow in data model, we have another data model, that is workflow derivation XML, right? So workflow derivation XML is also one of the data model which is there in the from the provisioning. But as the introduction of the business rule, for any action when we are doing performing in for employee profile, for those changes, if the workflow has to trigger, we have to write a condition, and that condition can be maintained in workflow XML also, or else we can maintain the condition in the business rule also. Okay, so as of now both options are available, but slowly now what is also happening, slowly lot of customers they are also migrating this workflow derivation from all the configurations from the XML to the front end to the business rule, because in the future again this workflow derivation will also get deprecated. Okay, so already event reason derivation has already been deprecated. Workflow will also, they will also go and end for the plan for end of the maintenance for this particular feature also. So a lot of customers they are already moving all the uh, configurations and the condition which is maintained in the XML for the workflow. Now they are moving it into the front end, so that whatever the configuration now and future they will be creating, all the it will be maintained from the front end only. Okay, so whenever we want to write a rule condition, workflow will be separate and event reason will be separate. Okay, and then we need to go and create a business rule for the workflow and for the event reason separately, and try to test it in the employee profile how we have tested today for the MDF object. Okay, simultaneously with single testing we can see how the workflow is getting triggered and how the event reason is getting triggered with two different rules. And apart from that, business rule is a conceptual topic where the conditions we cannot able to predefine any condition. We should understand how the rules has to be written according to the scenario what is being given by the customer. We should know how to write a rule. Okay, once we start with the business rule overview, and when we start going and creating the rule, you should can also have those examples. Those are the examples of the business rules. So when you have some 15 to 20 examples, when you try to explore, you should know how to write a business rule independently. Okay, this rule condition is nothing where we cannot able to by heart or something in advance. This is something where we should know what is the functionality, what is the features which are available in the rule, and how to utilize that feature when you are writing a business rule.
Okay.
Okay, customer can give you any scenario. Customer can say that I want a custom field, and that custom field should be for a particular country, and when HR admin will go into an employee profile, that custom field should be editable. When employee will go into his employee profile, that custom field should be readable mode. So everything can be controlled from the business rule. Okay, so some things are there, some part we can able to do it from the RBP, that is role based permission, but role based permission also has a certain limitation. Okay, so where the RBP cannot able to control certain permission, that permissions can be done with the help of a business rule. Okay, but we should know how to write the business rule. First of all, we should understand the scenario from which is coming from the customer, and how to frame that scenario in the condition in the business rule. And after framing that condition in the business rule, we need to assign that condition at the right area. That is also very important. And once we assign it, then we need to, third step is we need to test it. Is the rule is working correctly or not? Okay.